And the News Gang is back in exactly 10 minutes. Taifa Stars and Harambee Stars wanaingia uwanjani. So we need to take this home, and we're starting with my memo. And today it's about reckless utterances by leaders, utterances that have implications far wider than they care to know. The latest on the list is Charles Njagwa, Member of Parliament for Starehe constituency. His recent statement that appeared to threaten foreign business people with violence has had serious implications and also landed him in a heap of trouble. Because of what he said, Kenya was the subject of a less than complimentary discussion in the National Parliament of Tanzania in Dodoma. Reckless utterances by a little-known politician have earned us a place on the Tanzanian parliamentary schedule. In fact, the Kenyan High Commissioner had the not-so-honorable task of appearing before the Tanzanian Foreign Affairs Ministry, summoned to explain Jagwa's remarks. It is no surprise that the MP was arrested right outside Parliament. Speaking on the issue during his contribution on the floor of Kenya's Parliament, National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale stated, and I quote, "Kenya is not a dumping ground for foreigners and their goods." Duale says the National Assembly as well as the government must protect the ordinary Kenyan losing jobs daily due to the influx of foreigners in the country, also citing instances where Kenyan professionals were denied working opportunities in neighboring countries such as Tanzania, adding that Kenya should also put its foot down. Now, this is well and good and was delivered in Parliament in a civilized manner, one that would warrant an equally dignified response. That is why the language used by Jagwa must be condemned by all, because such recklessness overshadowed what would otherwise be a genuine, honest conversation between two neighboring friendly countries. What Duale said on the floor of the House warrants an honest debate, but that cannot happen if people put in positions of leadership throw caution to the wind. In countries where such xenophobic utterances were made, such as South Africa and Zimbabwe, lives have been lost and relationships messed up for decades. No one wants that in Kenya. Moreover, Kenya has some of the most enterprising people in Africa, or indeed the world, and they're to be found in virtually every country and every corner of the world. What would happen if Jagwa's statement were to be taken seriously by other countries? Anything that jeopardizes the stay of Kenyans abroad must thus be condemned. Jagwa is now being processed by the country's judicial system and must be left to the courts to decide his fate. But this is one of those instances where one would say, iwe funzo kwa wale wenye tabia kama hiyo. And that's my memo.
It is a huge soccer night, so my kicker tonight sticks to the big game and most vehemently behind our national team, the Harambee Stars. Whichever way the match against Tanzania goes tonight, I hold with conviction that Kenya is and ought to be a footballing powerhouse. In the late 80s and the early 90s, the Harambee Stars qualified 3 consecutive times to the Africa Cup of Nations. They played in Morocco in 1988, in Algeria in 1990, and then in Senegal in 1992. And that was during the era of the truly continental elite. The Africa Cup of Nations was an affair of only 8 teams, and Kenya routinely qualified. Yet there wasn't much in terms of resources going the way of the old Harambee Stars. With so little, Kenyan football still produced such greats as Peter Dawo, Ambrose Ayoyi, Wilberforce Mulamba, Austin Odor, and Michael Koth, among others. One may ask, why did the Harambee Stars of the 80s and 90s seem to impress more than their successive replacements? It is because of one important thing. The players had the fire in their bellies. They had the stomach for the big stage and an appetite for victory. They had character, played with purpose and commitment, and all the while they sang the national anthem with confidence. And in fact, in those days gone by, playing Tanzania was a non-event. Let me now hope for some fire in the belly of our boys, some confidence, and victory. That's my kicker.
Well, last week we talked about the unending sibling rivalry between the National Assembly and the Senate. Senators a week ago threatening to sue the National Assembly, their National Assembly counterparts, and contest the constitutionality of 15 laws and 83 bills passed by the National Assembly. Well, without their approval. Those catfights and the tantrums in the August House this week with the National Assembly in a notice of petition filed by Majority Leader Aden Duale, questioning the legality of majority and minority leaders in the Senate. Well, if it is all a quarrel of who is bigger, who is senior, which is the upper house, such mundane and inconsequential drama. Because like I said last week, who cares which house is bigger? Shouldn't the output, the quality of legislations, the efficiency in oversight and dedicated representation make it easy for Kenyans to determine which house has its act together? You see, this week I interviewed Trade and Industrialization Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya, and he had something to say about the state of our politics and parliament.
You know, let us be mature. Utoto mwingi, siasa ya Kenya iko na utoto mwingi. Na watoto wamejaa hiyo bunge.
Well, I'm not saying in any way that I agree or disagree with Munya's submission, but I dare say one can understand such sentiments. But you know what? That utoto is not just in parliament as Munya claims. That utoto is all over. For example, look at the quarrels between Machakos Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua and his counterpart Mike Sonko. Mutua, apparently in an attempt to portray Sonko as a failure in his management of the country's capital city, offered to take care of the Tom Mboya and Dedan Kimathi statues in the city center, claiming the Nairobi County administration had failed to manage the Mboya and Kimathi statues constructed at a cost of 1.5 and 4.5 million shillings respectively. Well, ignore the cost because that is a different, potentially depressing discussion altogether. Sonko, on the other hand, rushed to Machakos County today, caused a stir at Mutua's backyard, even ferried a sick person to Nairobi for medical care. Now, are you telling me that Dr. Mutua has dealt with all Machakos people needs, managed their resources prudently, supplied all county hospitals with medicine and the necessary equipment, built county roads, supplied water and even showers in every household as he promised us in 2013? Has he even built the Formula 1 track he promised? Well, has he done such a fantastic job in Machakos County that he can now export his expertise to Nairobi County? Has Sonko dealt with the health needs of all Nairobi County residents, fixed roads, supplied water, collected garbage, and turned Nairobi into a first-class city that it truly deserves to be? What about that mess at Mbagathi Hospital that we reported about tonight? Look, what I'm saying in so many words is, can't our leaders spare us all this unnecessary drama and just get the job done? Maybe utoto that Munya alluded to is infectious. And while at it, I hope I won't be accused of kuwa na utoto if I express my sincere hope and faith that Harambee Stars will do us proud tonight against Taifa Stars of Tanzania. But regardless of the results, I believe in our boys. That's my punchline.
My take tonight is a cry for beloved Kenya. Fellow citizens, did we sleep and wake up in the twilight zone? Just what is happening in this country? We have an angry president who constantly lectures his cabinet and us all, sometimes in mother tongue, but seemingly does nothing about his own complaints. A president who makes unending promises, or shall I say threats about corruption. One who we are now told has reached his elastic limit, presumably ready to snap. Then we have an alleged murder plot that reads like a movie script. A rather incredulous one, I might add. A murder plot allegedly planned by a whopping 40 people against the holder of the country's second highest political office. A planning meeting held at a hotel, ironically so close to the headquarters of the National Intelligence Service. A letter supposedly detailing the plot. Cabinet secretaries being summoned to the DCI to answer to these grave allegations. A principal secretary now filing a harassment claim against his boss, the deputy president. Police apparently turning to the FBI, no less, to help in unraveling the assassination mystery. A country seemingly on autopilot, said by no less than the majority leader in the Senate. Politicians on both sides of the aisle fervently obsessed with an election that is 3 years away. A ruling party at odds with itself, seemingly on the verge of implosion. Its own Secretary General under pressure to quit over a leaked audio. A handshake whose real aim is seemingly a closely guarded secret. Politicians trading barbs, insults at funerals and on national platforms on public holidays meant to be days of reflection of our nationhood. Yet others recording their phone conversations and leaking them to the public. Constant rallies around the country, supposedly launching development projects. Taking over the pulpit every Sunday, shouting themselves hoarse. And the church itself battling to regain its place on the moral pedestal. A political opposition singing the tune of government and its leaders posing for billboard pictures to advertise government programs. And parliamentarians arguing for hours on end about who is more government than the other. All this while we're told the economy is growing at 6%. But our pockets remain empty. We have a failed billion-shilling agricultural project that was touted as the silver bullet for food security. A country that still sees her citizens on the brink of starvation every time the rains fail. Corruption that gobbles up 1/3 of our budget. A CS in charge of the country's purse being grilled for days on corruption allegations. Corruption that gets in the way of the best intentions of devolution. And an electorate that is all too eager to vote in the very same people when the time comes. It is a wonder that anything gets done in this country. Sometimes I think it is only God that holds this country together. Kenya is truly God's country. And that is my take tonight.
Kenya is truly God's country, but on my angle tonight, I want to speak about the men and women put in charge of this country that God made. And I hold tonight that one man, yes, only one man, President Uhuru Kenyatta, should get us out of this quagmire. I will now explain. The last few days have been surreal. They have been more like a script of a horror movie. Because where on earth does a cabinet minister speak about his senior, a deputy president, as if the latter was some outlaw, a stranger or something worse, and they still sit in the same cabinet? Where on earth does a majority leader in the Senate complain loudly on national television that a principal secretary has instructed security agencies to boycott functions of the deputy president of the Republic? Where on earth? And where on earth does a president keep quiet when everything seems to be falling apart in the country? Now, the latest saga in government is only the latest manifestation of what has clearly been a troubled marriage for some time now. Many observers have linked it to the 2018 handshake, which brought together the president and his former fierce rival Raila Odinga. This theory suggests that the deputy president supporters suspect that the president is intending to assist Raila to ascend to power somehow, and at the expense of the deputy president, who was until that handshake the near automatic successor of the president. This theory has been given life by the many voices in Jubilee that no longer seem interested in backing the DP. This means that two people are truly at the center of our political problems in the country today, and that would be William Ruto and Raila Odinga, and not anything else is collateral damage. Indeed, if William Ruto and Raila Odinga were to shake hands today, there will be no tanga-tanga, there will be no kieleweke, at least for the moment. And that is where Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, comes in. You see, he's the one who shook hands with Raila Odinga on March 9th last year. But he is also the same person who once told us that he will do his 10 years in office and then hand over to his deputy. That means he's the one who must now tell the deputy president and his supporters where that pact stands. Why the suspense? The agitation from the supporters of the DP can only suggest that they're in the dark or they know something we don't. The president must also talk to Raila Odinga and tell him, together with his supporters, the extent of the handshake deal. Was it just about the so-called 9-point agenda, or is there something else? Finally, the president has to talk to his cabinet secretaries. How can we have a situation where some cabinet ministers seem to report to the president while others seem to report to the deputy president? I mean, we all can see it. There's either a cabinet or there isn't. And finally, the president must talk to us, the citizens. The Kenyans who submit to him as their president surely don't deserve this anxiety and confusion. They deserve better, much better, because the president ought to know this. Things are not looking good. That's my angle tonight.
Things are not looking good. Let me read this message from Steve Ogola, is an advocate. He says, the Constitution anticipates constructive dismissal of the DP. Article 147.1 designates the DP as an assistant without portfolio. Article 148.2 dispenses with the requirement of nomination of the DP. He is not elected. The president can fire him without saying so. Probably legally, but politically
without
saying so.
Oh, wow.
All right, can we go to E?
Oh my, and I'm told Kenya
Can we go home now?
Harambee
Tumefungwa?
Taifa Stars have just scored. Oh my.
You're lying.
I'm serious.
What?
No, it's okay.
No,
Again,
it's
we
okay.
are-
It's okay. It's
The
okay.
game is
Yeah,
only
it's-
just
It's okay.
beginning.
Dakika ya nne,
It's okay.
it's
No, you
fine.
guys are
It's
pranking
okay.
me.
It's
I'm
okay.
serious.
Okay, let's go watch the
It's
game.
okay.
Thanks for watching. Hashtag NEWSGANG. Aki,
No, we have
God's country.
86
and Harambee
minutes,
Stars is
Bado.
God's team.
We'll be
Oh
all
my
right.
gosh. Good night.
Good night.
We'll see you next week.